What's good, Milky Way? Welcome back to Jake Anthony and Beyond. That was a good intro. I'm not very beyond right now. I'm just in a room. You're gonna want to take your shoes off for this one, and your socks, and just take off all your clothes. This video is about trust. Trust has been a big theme of my life the last months, and it's led me to places where I never thought I would be, such as Mexico. Like, there's so much noise outside, like dogs barking. But I must trust the process. I must trust that this video will turn out good in the end. And like the tapestry behind me here isn't lined up straight, but I must trust the process. I've learned a lot about trusting myself in the last year, so I hope this video offers some type of offer value to you. So my journey so far, it looks kind of like this. I've never traveled outside of the United States. I've never been a part of an ayahuasca ceremony. I've never done kambo, which is the frog poison. I met my friend Anna online, who picked me up from Tulum to go into the jungle to do ayahuasca. And I only heard good things about the shaman that I was going to meet from people online. So through these events, I had to be a good judge of my own decisions. I could no longer depend on other people's opinions. But through these risks of trusting myself, I was creating a life that I needed, and I was discovering things that I didn't know that I wanted. And in a way, I created a new part of me. So I straight up embraced this new part of me and moved to Mexico. And I cannot wait to take my next risk. Truly trusting myself was the single most greatest decision I've ever made in my life. So to the person watching this, it's time to take a risk. Trust yourself. Trust yourself and trust your situation. And I'd go as far as saying that your situation is you, but for the sake of this video, I will keep those separate. And I split this video into 4 small parts that I really think you'll find valuable. So here are 4 reasons you don't trust yourself. Number 1, you're not aware of the people around you. Be aware, wolf. Be a werewolf. They're an endangered species. It's not okay to blame people, but people will influence your ability to trust yourself. And I'm talking about the people that unfortunately need to manipulate you so they can feel better about their insecurities. So be careful who you're hanging out with. People can be very toxic. People can be narcissists. People they can have mental health issues. People can act out of their insecurities. And these things can really hinder your ability to think for yourself, to trust yourself. Even people that are jealous of you, there's always this tension in the air that may make you make decisions that you don't really want to make because they're kind of out of revenge or to make them jealous because now you're jealous of them. So it's a very toxic cycle you could get caught up in. They will say things like, are you sure about that? Are you sure you want to do that? Well, what if this happens? What if that? This instills anxiety into your mind, making you second guess yourself. And this sabotages your fate, just like they probably have sabotaged their own. This even includes people who genuinely care about you. They might smother you with so much love that you end up being a little too careful with every decision you make. And this can affect your ability to trust your own abilities. So that's something to be aware of as well. Moving on. Number dose. Trust from love, not from fear. In my view, trusting should come from love only. In fact, love cannot exist without trust. Like, if you love someone for a reason that involves fear, like if you love someone because you're afraid of losing them, or if you're afraid they'll be worse off without you, or if you love someone because you're afraid of being alone, that is not unconditional love. That is not 100% trust. So we can apply this same concept to ourselves when we love ourselves. to love ourselves unconditionally, we must trust ourselves unconditionally. If you stay at a job that you hate, yes, you're trusting the job to make you money, but you're keeping that job because you're afraid of quitting and getting a new one. Like, if you have a goal, then set that goal because it'll make you a better person, not because you're afraid of failure. Like, if you're just setting a bunch of goals just to fill your schedule up and you're just meeting a bunch of little goals, like, is this really making you a better person? Or are you just meeting a bunch of goals because you're afraid of being a worse person? So let's stop embracing insecurities and fighting to keep them by acting out of fear, and start embracing the fact that your potential is greater than you can imagine right now. That is a fact. It's a weird fact, right? Because right now, you might have fears that are holding you back to truly reveal what is possible. And as time goes on, the more self-potential you will discover through trusting yourself and your situations. And moving on to number 3, which is trust and manifestation. You're not embracing the unknown enough, the uncertain future. You might be a little too anxious about certain events happening, and manifestation is heavily linked to this. We're actually always manifesting. No matter what we're doing, no matter if we're trying to do it on purpose or not, we are always manifesting our reality. And so if you are an anxious person, you're automatically manifesting anxious people to join you in your life and more situations to cause you more anxiety. If you trust your situation to serve you, then the universe will reward you with what you need and with what you want. You will be surprised, and that's manifestation in a nutshell. Trusting is a surrender to what is, but that's not all, because for me, I'm not perfect. I can't just surrender to what is in the present moment at all times. Okay, I'm human. I am thinking about the future. It's a survival mechanism that I can never, ever get rid of. If you can, please contact me. That's crazy. DM me on Instagram at cjakerun. But for real, I am not perfect. I'm always thinking about the future. So instead of only surrendering to what is now, okay, that's trust, sure. I'm also going to surrender to what will happen, to what I will receive. Surrender, like just think about that. Have that thought of you surrendering to whatever you will receive. Surrender to the future. Embrace the unknown. Learn how to be curious about the unknown. How? Well, it starts with you taking the risk of trusting yourself. Trusting, surrendering, affirming that your desires are already in action, which is manifestation. The universe will reward you with what you want and more. It's not magic, but it's magic. And last but most, number 4. It's the same thing as saying last but not least, right? You're blaming and not taking responsibility. Ew. Listen closely, okay? The nature of change is the only permanent thing in this universe. And our suffering comes from emotionally attaching ourselves to things that we think are permanent. And when this supposed permanent thing becomes impermanent, which it always was, we are let down and we suffer. This is Buddhism 101. So go ahead and think of a permanent thing. Okay, it's not permanent. So blaming people and situations that are inevitably subject to change is irrational. Like that dog barking outside, it probably wishes it was permanent, but it will die. It will die. It will die. So how can we embrace change more so we can suffer less? It's a pretty straightforward question, so let's answer it with a straightforward answer. Okay, the answer is trust. But in this context, the action required from you is to acknowledge that you yourself is responsible for all the change that has caused you pain. I'm laughing because it's a funny realization to have, to be honest. If I punch you, if I punch you in the face, yes, it's my fault for causing you pain. But to continually blame me for your continuous anger or continuous sadness, that is your responsibility. In these moments of blame, we are lying to ourselves that this person or this situation is permanent and it will always be that way. But that's not the case. You know, some people never face their demons and never change, but that's not your responsibility either, okay? The person or situation that caused you pain is not permanent, nor is that person's mentality, which is why I refuse to define people around me by their demons, by their dark sides. I always define people by their love, the way they love. That's truly how I define people personally. And the situation that caused you pain would not have caused you pain if you weren't there. So it's almost like we have to volunteer to take responsibility for our own suffering. We have to go out of our way to fix the problem, and you might end up in Mexico. So this is where trusting yourself can be the most difficult. Like knowing if you're doing the right thing, like knowing if you're truly facing your demons the right way. It's tough. So all I can say is start practicing. Start practicing trust by taking that risk that you've always wanted to take. You know, trust that your situation will turn out the way it's supposed to be. Trust in your abilities. You know, you've made accomplishments, okay? Trust that you're smart. Trust that you are capable of thinking for yourself. Trust that whatever decision you make, you will end up where you're supposed to be. Trust in that. And you won't truly know that you're at where you're supposed to be until you actually purposefully look for reasons to belong there. And on that note, I think that concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching. Jake Anthony and Beyond. Trust yourself, take a risk. Okay, bye. Sweet, I think someone finally killed the dog. Trust the process.